Hello, everyone. I see my man Darium in the chat. Hope everyone's having a nice night. Hope to have a great show for you. I have a great guest tonight, Geez1of1. He's going to walk us through his story. Um, Before we get started, though, I do want to put out there that neither one of us are medical professionals. We're not giving medical advice. Neither one of us stayed at a Holiday Inn last night either, so we don't have that working for us either. So if you come across, we're just sharing our personal experiences, and if you come across something that resonates with you, please reach out to your provider and talk to them about it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my man G's on. Welcome to
Good
the
evening. Good
stage,
evening. Good
G's.
evening.
How you doing this
Glad to
evening?
be here. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. I'm just living the dream, man. Living the dream.
I know that's right. We need to get some more people in here.
See if I
There
adjust
they
my
go.
camera.
Hey, Jen, how you doing?
What's up, Jen?
Before we get into it, though, I do want to give a shout out to Darium. I reached out to Darium yesterday and asked him to be a moderator,
Nice.
and he did it without hesitation. And Darium, I just want to give you your flowers overall, world. You everywhere I look, there you are. You are cheering on everyone in the community. I hope you know that how much everyone in the community loves and supports you. You, my guy, from day one. You've been riding with me from day one. And I know when I was thinking about giving up this YouTube channel, you were there encouraging me and encouraging me all through my health challenges as well. So I appreciate you, Darian. I just want to give you your flowers. All right.
And I echo that sentiment, because he has definitely been one to champion, a lot of things within my within me being on this application, and just one of those guys that always had the encouraging words. So, definitely you deserve those flowers.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
We ride for Darian. Darian's that dude.
That dude.
All right, geez, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, give us your background and whatnot?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I am G's one of one. For those that do not know me, I am a guy that suffers with obesity. Hence the moniker Obesity Warrior that you hear if you visit my channel. I'm a person who actually since childhood has struggled with obesity and am actually blessed to have found the treatment Zepbound, which is what I use now, and I am actually at tonight down 84 pounds, 26% of my body weight, and forging ahead to remain healthy.
Absolutely. How long have you been on the journey?
I have been on a journey for I'm going into my ninth month. October 5th makes 9 months. So
Awesome.
by this Friday, it'll be 9 months for me on a journey. But I have had what I consider, what those some may consider, very, very successful journey because I've lost weight for nearly 39 weeks straight. 39 weeks straight.
That's dope. I in preparing for this, I went back and I watched some of your oldest content, primarily your first video, just
Okay. The whole story. The whole
yeah,
story.
refresh my myself. So and doing that, I came up with some questions that I formulated. I want to ask you.
Nice.
Um, in that video, you mentioned that you were always the big kid shopping in the Husky section. Um, and so I want to know, how did those early experiences shape your journey and who you are today?
So, yeah, I mean, I always was the big kid in the Husky section. I didn't have the plethora of options. It was very selective. Even back then, and you know, there was a lot of trauma early on. I'd say in various ways, and it didn't stop. Even when I entered high school because we lived in what we consider a food desert.
Yeah.
there weren't any healthy options. And with my parents being working class, my father was a sanitation worker and my mom was a CNA. So she spent a lot of hours at work, and their only thing was, did I eat, not what I eat, right?
Yeah.
So my nutrition choices weren't the greatest, at that time, due to the fact that, it was just about getting through the day. So obviously obesity was something that I dealt with early on, and later on I educated myself, obviously, but early on it was definitely something that I struggled with, and ultimately I feel like played a part later on. As I became a teenager, I also did a whole story part two. Since you brought up the whole story, part two was more about me as a teenager, and not the little guy that I talked about in that first one. And there was a different kind of trauma because uh, it's well noted that I went to what was deemed the most dangerous school in America by Diane Sawyer on ABC. There's a
Yeah,
YouTube
I
special that
remember you sharing that. Yeah.
she did that special in 2012. I like to say I graduated in 98, so I started at that school in 1991. Okay. So in 1991, there was a different experience because you're talking about almost, over 20 years before she actually stepped foot in that school. So at the time that I went there were no metal detectors and real security, right? We had what they call NTAs, and the NTAs was, no, it was pretty much like your uncle around the way. I mean, they were playing security, so there were so many things. I mean, I don't know if people ever watched the movie East Side High,
Yeah.
with Mr. Clark, right? So we were real life that. That was a real life, So the things that you seen depicted in that movie, that was for real. And then because it was a junior and senior high school, I started there in the sixth grade. I'm one that my birthday's in January, so I was enrolled in school early. I actually went through pre-K twice because my mother enrolled me early, so I actually graduated early. So I entered that school in that kind of trauma at 10 years old. That's when I first started going to that school. So from the time I was 10 all the way to the time I was 17, that was the kind of drama that I dealt with.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So like I said, if anybody can think about that movie, I mean, you talk about the drugs and the weapons and just the constant fighting and the lack of enough teachers, to teach you. You constantly having substitutes and it is a lot. And then just getting to and from school because in that era, you know, uh, gang war was still a big deal, and you're a West Coast guy, so I know you remember at that time, how heavy,
Yeah.
gang related activity was going on, back then, and even being here on the East Coast, there was, the same sentiment, and it was more about territory, and that school, while it was only, I want to say about 3 to 4 miles from the house that I lived in, there was a lot of territory to walk through to get there every day, So a lot occurred, as a 10-year-old guy trying to get from point A to point B, just going to school. I was robbed on several occasions. The saving grace I would say is, gift and a curse, is that a lot of my family, unfortunately, were criminals.
Yeah.
So with them being criminals and being the bad guy, once people found out my affiliation was with who my family was, not too many people bothered me as I, got into my later years, in the school. Things happened, but because I was with the guys who were the guys, I was actually considered safe, and those guys actually, the good thing they did was they never allowed me to partake. I was always there. I was around a lot of bad things, but I was never allowed to partake because they saw, like I like to tell people, even bad guys like good endings sometimes. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
definitely.
And they could see the difference in what they didn't want from me. So while I was around and I experienced all that, I didn't partake in it, and I actually was able to turn out pretty decent.
Yeah, lots of similarities in our stories there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
also in that video, you mentioned that your family didn't really emphasize diet and exercise as as a youngin. So looking
No.
back, what do you think that what do you wish that you knew then that you know now?
Um, I interesting enough, Charles, I don't. I don't really wish that I I embrace everything that happened. Because I feel like it's all a part of the journey. It made me who I am, and it might have been nice to know more, but um, I actually felt like that was just what I was meant to go through to be an example later. I'll tell you what, my kids won't experience it.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
kids won't experience it. So that's the saving grace. I try to find the positive even in the negative. Because I'll say, like, just being on YouTube and dealing with what we deal with and seeing people tell their stories and some of the things that they get frustrated with. I think that I don't, because I come from such trauma that, to me, the things that some people find as traumatic or hard to deal with, it's just not. It's just
yeah,
not in my book. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm built for it, so I don't really I don't mind it.
I appreciate that answer because we are a collection of our experiences, and if you take those experiences away, who are we? So
Yep.
yeah, I
Yep.
appreciate that. So uh, another topic that you touched on in that first video was the pandemic. The pandemic seemed it got all of us. It seems like, man,
Oh
I
man.
uh I lost
Woo.
I lost complete control during the pandemic. Um,
Yeah, man. It
and
really
you
did.
mentioned that you put on weight and you were battling depression, which is a lot of stuff that I was dealing with as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
what was there a turning point that led to your change in that time frame?
So I was actually, I would say, considered essential because I manage a pharmacy, and there was no days off. Like, I was outside all the time. Before there was a vaccine, right? So I knew what my comorbidities, that I it was, it's almost like GLP-1, right? Like, when GLP-1 came about, I'll say even early this year, like the beginning of this year, I knew nothing. I was very ignorant, to what GLP-1s were about. I mean, I knew the basis, but I've learned so much. But even in COVID, prior to us actually having the vaccine available, and just hearing the stories, because early on it was all about the stories. I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. I'm hearing about the police officer that was they used to use as a crossing guard at the hospital, 50 some odd years old, dropping dead.
Yeah,
I'm seeing the stories coming out of New York, and I'm like, I'm outside every day, and I fit the category for somebody who can have develop severe disease, because I'm obese. You know what I mean? So I'm scared to death.
yeah,
I'm going outside every day, and it really took a mental toll on me, to the point where I actually took a leave. I was out of work for several months, just trying to get my bearings with the whole thing, with all of the death that surrounded me. Obviously I'm close to New York, being right outside in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So
yeah,
it was very traumatic. Like, the scenes that we had, over here, people, lined up outside, and they storing bodies in the freezers, and the makeshift morgues, people being shoved in the freezers, trucks, trailers, as freezers and stuff, and seeing all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to end up like that. So, during that leave, I was kind of like, I kind of like stayed in the house and educated myself. But during that whole time, we didn't do much but eat. You know what I mean? We would just, like, order out, and order in, I should say, and not do too much traveling at all. Didn't see too much family. So I did. I packed on, quite a bit of weight, because my today, before I move off the point, my wife still, to this day, uh, still thanks me for getting us N95s, because I was smart enough at that time to know that, with me having the pharmacy background, that the regular mask that everybody was wearing wouldn't work. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I was like, we need N95s, because we need to pretty much cut off, all type of droplets, right at the source. And my entire family, I was spending $200 a month on N95s, and my whole family had them anytime we went anywhere. And none of us caught COVID until my kids went back to school. Didn't have COVID, not
wow,
one time. Not
wow,
not one time. So once my kids went back to school, and my daughter, she was working at a CVS, and she actually was the first person to bring it home, because they had a Christmas party there, and we quarantined her. She went right to the room, never came out, and
Mm-hmm.
she was in the same house as us, and no one ever got it. But then once they relaxed a little bit, and my kids actually went to school, my son brought it home. But by that time, I was fine because I was blessed to be one of the first people to receive the vaccine. I received the vaccine probably a year earlier than most people because I was one of the people that was in the nursing homes, and it's the time when Pfizer had just came out with the vaccine,
Yeah.
and we were literally the first people to get our hands on it. And I was in nursing homes inoculating seniors, but the caveat was we got to inoculate ourselves first before
Yeah.
going in there. So
Yeah.
I actually was able to be one of the first people to actually get that vaccine, and I felt a lot safer after I received it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had a lot of those same concerns, being obese and have sleep apnea, and I'm concerned about my wife who has lupus, and what if I get it and
Mhm.
give it to her? Will I survive? Will she survive? And all worried about all those things. So that all that builds up on you. So I completely understand where you're
Yeah,
coming from that
yeah.
regard.
My mother has she has lupus. She's had lupus for over 30 years, but she was first diagnosed back in the 90s with sarcoidosis because they didn't understand lupus that far ago.
Yeah,
That far back, they just didn't understand it the way they do today, and to this day, I mean, my mom, she's alive and thriving with it. She actually also has a form of blood cancer, as well. But she is some super long name. I can't even pronounce the blood cancer that
yeah,
she has, but she's had that, um, and I can remember early in the early days, like when I was a teenager, and when she first found out, they were treating her with chemotherapy and different things, and she was going around the house, hooked up to the IV and all of that, and we thought it was like the lupus was like a death sentence because nobody really knew anything, and again they misdiagnosed it at first, and then
yeah,
later on we found out that it was super treatable. And the bad part about her is that it attacked all of her major organs,
yeah.
so that was really like the issue for her. But lo and behold, she's okay. So I do understand lupus, so I wanted to, just say that.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that. I know one of the benefits that you talked about using the medication is the impact that it had on inflammation with your arthritis and your foot and all of that. How's that impacted your day to day life? I know you're preparing for a surgery and whatnot
yeah.
because of your foot.
Yeah, so in all actuality, it has helped me tremendously in other parts of my body. Like I had this nagging neck issue that I really don't. At least I don't notice anymore. I couldn't really lay on my right side because of it. I would get kind of dizzy laying on that side, but I notice now with the medication, I'm able to lay on that side. I mean, not for long periods of time, but I can. Where couldn't before. Um, I know my knees feel a lot better, but I mean, I'm sure that's just from the sheer less weight. You know what I mean? In general, not being down so many pounds, but um, I would say as far as my foot and my ankle, it really hasn't because I feel like they were so far gone. I don't have any cartilage in either of my big toes, and my ankle is not as bad as the toes because it's a newer form of arthritis. But the osteoarthritis in the toes, I was getting cortisone. Um, I would say every year, but then it picked up to like every 3 to 6 months when I start really working out. Because
Hmm.
as you know, the more you actually utilize those body parts, the more likely with the activity it wakes that arthritis up. So I started to get more because when I started my GLP-1 journey, I was actually walking like a mile a day. That was my thing. Like and I said in my other videos, it could be raining. I never skipped a day. I would be outside in the rain just walking. People looking at me like, this guy crazy? Like it's pouring down. He out here, he out here walking around. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I got to get my miles in, so that's kind of how I started my journey. But I did fall back and just, kind of fall into just the resistance training because I know that it was causing major issues with my arthritis. And when I have so much pain, I can't really focus like I would like to. So I know it's not smart for me. So it's a lot better for me to just go ahead and do, like the lifting weights and resistance training.
Forgive me for a minute. My brother just reached. I got a family thing going on, so I need to check in with my brother real quick.
Okay, cool. No problem. No problem.
Something heavy.
Wow. Well, you
I just
playing
let them
for?
know that I'll call them back after. So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Just praying for y'all, man. Praying for the
have
team.
you have you had any challenges, and what strategies have you implemented to overcome those challenges, if you had any? I know you're like me. I think you also said that you haven't had any weeks where you haven't lost at least something.
No, man, it's crazy. I mean, it's like a miracle. Like, you know what I mean? I just keep, I keep now. I mean, obviously the amount of weight that I'm losing has changed, right? You know what I mean? I'm not losing the way I was in the beginning, but I'm still losing. That's the whole thing. I'm happy about is the fact that I'm still able to get, weight off. You know what I mean? I started out, averaging almost 3 pounds yeah, almost 3 pounds a week. I was at 2.9 pounds in the beginning of my journey. I mean, I lost 15 pounds the first month. I lost 13 pounds the second month. I actually got it right here because generally, usually when I'm talking, I'm on my phone, but some on the computer, I got it. So I lost 15 pounds in January when I first started, 13 pounds in February, 11 pounds in March, 9 pounds in April, 12 pounds. I went back up in May. June, I lost 8 pounds. July, I lost six. Um, August was my least amount of weight loss. I lost 2.5. And then in September, I lost just shy of this month just ended this past weekend, 6 pounds. I will say which is what got me to the 84 pounds in the 8 months. In back in June, I did titrate up, to the 10, but due to the what I felt like was the fast heart rate, I titrated back down to 7.5 for several months. Because I said, well, I'm just probably not that ready for that Mac 10, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
back on off of it, which I did. And then I'm glad because now I would say for my first month, which was this past month, September, I was able to get through the whole month and no problems, no increased heart rate or anything. I mean, it was just perfect, So I felt like me titrating back, giving my body more time to get ready, prepare for it, actually helped out, and I was able to, not necessarily have to do any kind of titrating down because I took 2 10s in June. I took a 7.5 for 2 weeks. I took a 7.5 in the middle of that to break it up to see, like let me see what's going on, and then I did 2 more weeks of 10. And then I said, no, I'm gonna titrate back down because it was just like too much. But now, like I said, the 10 is working. And the reason why I actually went up was because of me not being able to do as much activity as I was prior before getting ready for these surgeries. And the food noise had increased a bit because I was on 7.5 for so many months. I spent the most of my journey on it. So now being on the 10, I just really feel like it's the right time.
yeah. I see Darian's putting questions in the chat. So if we have some time, we'll circle back and answer those questions. If you want to put Q's in front of your questions, we'll do a Q&A. But I want to talk about your picks here for a sec. You started out
Yep.
at 319, I think it was, and you're down 84.
Yes,
Like,
sir. Yes, sir. I started out at
you were
319.
was were you
Yeah.
were you like 319 in this pick, the side by side here?
I want to say I was, yeah, 319.6. I don't know if I was weighing at that time. I think that was my anniversary of last September. I didn't take I took my weight in January, and then January 5th I was 319.6. On that one, I could have been a little bit smaller, a little bit. I may have been like 311 in that picture. Because I kind of fluctuated between that 300 and 312. That 319 was the largest I had ever been in my life. But I had fluctuated between 300 and like 312 for a little bit there. My adult life, for the most part, I was regularly probably around 265. That was like regular. That three something hit during COVID, man. That
Yeah,
literally like just blew me up. For most of my adult life, I was probably and then what I'm saying in my 30s. In my 30s, for most of my 30s, I was probably right around, like 265, 270, because I did do traditional like trainers and working out, which actually got weight off me. I had got to 299 at one point, probably like in my early 30s, 32, 33. And then I was like, whoa, let me get a personal trainer. And the personal trainer got me back down to 270. And I was kind of like a solid 265, 270 most of the time. But yeah,
yeah.
that picture there, I probably am like my heaviest, probably 319. And then the one on the right was probably during the summer. That
a
was
good sign.
last summer, so that was probably a little bit right before I took that other picture. That was probably back in like July, a couple months before the other one. But the one, like I said, on the right, that was when I had lost the weight. So this
I
one,
want to talk about this one real quick because
uh huh, uh huh.
I want to talk about this one real quick.
Okay.
Boy, on this after or this current picture, you look like you in a '90s video about to drive to your girl's house and sing "Forever My Lady" or something, man.
Hey man,
GQ smooth.
it wasn't what I was going for, but hey, it worked. Yeah, man. So this one, sometimes I felt like these pictures kind of motivated me most. You know what I mean? Because it was like, wow, it really like showed my journey. And again, in those few, and it's only been a few months. I mean, I'm saying my journey, but we not even at 1 year. You know what I mean? This was literally like that picture was in March. That
Yeah,
picture of me in the car was in March, man. I mean, you talking about 6 months in between, and that was when I first started doing shorts, just to try to get in the YouTube thing. Because when I first started, I wasn't thinking about YouTube. I was like, I'm not thinking about doing nothing like that. I can't even really tell you I don't really know what that moment was that drove me to say, hey, let me make this short. But I did it. I was like, let me just do it. Like, let me just try it. And
yeah,
and that was probably my first video. So, and I was like, wow, just like worlds away. And on this picture, I'm actually 289. I had already lost, almost, 30 pounds, so
yeah. You can see the difference in your face.
yeah, I
Definitely.
also lost like 30, I was lost 30. I was down in that blue shirt, I was 289, which wasn't, which was 30 pounds under, that 319. So I'm just like, man, what if I started taping when I was 30 pounds heavier than that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's just, for me, that's just like, wow, man, that's amazing. So amazing.
So there's always this discussion about GLP-1s being a shortcut, and I want to hear your thoughts on that. I mean, there people are throwing out the discipline that it takes to be on this journey and think that using a GLP-1 is a shortcut, which we all know it's not. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
Definitely not a shortcut because I want to say, I mean, hey, look, we're on YouTube doing an interview right now about this, right? So for people that should put perspective, give some perspective to people. Like this is a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't be doing all of this if we just take the shot and just haphazardly don't think about what's going on. We got to think all the time. Even though it has made, I'll tell you, GLP-1s make me feel a sense of control. I did mention this in my other interview that I feel a sense of control because now I can lose weight, when I want, so to speak. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, you still got to put the work in, but
Yeah,
I was doing intermittent fasting and things of that nature prior. But it
yeah,
wasn't netting me this kind of weight loss. The most weight I ever lost was 40 pounds. And that was when I did another program called 40-Day Reset, where we actually put like these kind of vitamins. It was like vitamin E and a bunch of other stuff under your tongue, and it would allow you to kind of have like satiety and you feel full and you wouldn't eat as much, but nothing like a GLP-1. Wasn't even
yeah,
close. But it still allowed me to lose. And we was on very, very strict diets. I couldn't eat. That was like one of the ones where you eat about 800 calories and you don't move, you don't do any exercise or anything like that. But it still took 40 pounds off of me at that time. Because on that, I started off at 290, ended up somewhere around 260. So or 250 something. So that was the only time that I had actually lost like a good deal of weight, like that. And then now with the GLP-1, I've been able to lose more than twice that. So but understand that there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, obviously I do intermittent fasting. I make sure I get a lot of protein. I stay hydrated. You know what I mean? So I'm checking numbers and looking at things that I never would before, and it's no different than the people that are in the gym, without the treatment. They checking numbers and hydrating and doing all that. We're doing the same things. We're doing the same thing. So it's definitely not an easy way out. And honestly, it's about biology, right?
yeah,
So if you try to just move more, eat less, move more, eat less, like most of us try and fail forever, why did that I think it shouldn't be considered wrong for you to actually get help with biology because none of us can help that. But I see it all the time. I see the
yeah,
YouTube videos of people just, fear mongering and saying, you guys don't have enough information and you're being test dummies. And I see all this stuff. And what's sad is most of the time, those people, or a lot of times, they're like personal trainers, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, stuff like that. So they got their own. See, what I would
They,
think
they
is
have
you'll
they
see
have an
the
interest
value.
in it.
They have interest, right? I would think you would see the value in the fact that, okay, well, maybe I should also get the GLP-1 crowd to come on my side, and I can train everybody. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
instead,
Exactly. Why not make a plan about it?
yeah.
There's
But
this
instead, they
constant
talk
concern
you
about
down.
people muscle wasting. So
Yeah,
build something that's going to help
that's
them
the thing.
keep and maintain muscle while they're on a
Yeah,
GLP-1.
that's the thing. That's the thing. Oh, they're you're gonna lose so much weight on so much muscle, messing around with that stuff, and you guys don't know what you're doing to your body. And I'm like, no, we actually do. You know what I mean? We're actually making ourselves a lot healthier than we were in the past because there were a lot of things, comorbidities that come with this.
Yeah.
I'm not on my weight loss journey for vanity. It's for health. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
always like I told them in one of my lives, I said, I know my why. My why is every day I wake up, me having that irregular heartbeat, wearing monitors at times, was something that, I never want to experience again. Me going to the physician and the physician telling me, you got a 7 out of 10 chance of having a heart attack in less than 10 years,
Yeah.
and I'm 43 at that time. I'm like, that's not something I want to hear. I got at that time, a 5-year-old. I got a 5-year-old daughter, you know what I mean? I probably got to be around at least for the next 30 years, you know what I'm saying? To
Exactly.
walk her down the aisle. So I got to do something, you know what I mean? If you're talking 10 years and I need to triple that, I need help. I can't just work out and get those years. I
Exactly.
need something to
Exactly.
add years to my life. And I felt like this was it. These aren't these people that get on and say these things don't go that deep. They just say, oh, well, if you move your body and ate less. I'm like, you don't think we've tried that? We've done that over and over and over again, and it don't work for everybody.
Yeah. So I'm curious, beyond the number on the scales, what what benefits have you seen in your improvement in your mental health, your energy, and your confidence?
So, I mean, there are several non-scale victories. I mean, obviously, I'm seeing. Well, I'll tell you a non-scale victory that I had this past Saturday. Me and my wife was before we went out to dinner. I actually was able to go and buy a shirt right out the store off the rack, and I hadn't been able to do that in like forever because I had to order everything. Because I was a 3X basically. I mean, some stores have those sizes, but it's very selective. You know what I mean? You just get the
Yeah.
big ugly shirt in the corner, the largest shirt we got in the store. Over there now. So now you got much more of a selection. You can actually go and get a plethora of nice looking things right off the rack, and it fits the right way, and you can be wearing it the same night. So this just past weekend, I was able to go grab my shirt off the rack, and that was huge for me because people take that for granted. They're like, oh, you bought a shirt out of the store, whoop de doo. Well, when you haven't been able to do that for years, it actually has an impact. And you actually able can go and do it. It's a big deal. So it was a big deal for me. And then when I went to get like a dress shirt for my anniversary a few weeks back, just finding out that because obviously you got to measure your neck and all of that, and I was a 17. I'm like, wow. I mean, there's been a time in my life where I could fit a 20. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm like to be a 17, which is in essence extra large. I'm like that is just absolutely amazing. So there's a plethora of things. I mean, being in control, of being able to lose weight, going up and down the steps, multiple times and not being tired. I can go before I go up the steps one time, my knees was hurting and I was tired. Now I can go up and down 3 times and be, just fine. So there are the small things that you really notice that you didn't notice before. I mean, better skin. I mean, my skin's a lot better than it was before. So, there's a multitude of things that come at you, that you really don't pay attention to until, you look in the
There
mirror or people pay attention.
and there's something to be said about going to a store and buying something off the rack. I just can't. I don't even like going shopping. I'd rather buy something online, but just be able to
Mhm.
go into a store and find something that will fit you completely different. I should say going to a store other than DXL or something of that nature where you can find something that's
Yeah,
more fashionable and stuff that will fit you,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, because I was one that ordered. Like I used to order everything. Because I mean, I only wear like Polo, True Religion. There's only a few things I wear, and I would just order all my stuff from Polo, and like and but I was ordering the big and tall from Polo. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so, it's like now I'm literally the regular extra large or 2X, depending on the style of the shirt, like, regular. I'm not in big and tall at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Polo fits a little bit bigger. Stuff like True Religion, I mean, that fits a little bit more custom. So I might still buy a 2X in that because it's a little bit tighter fit. It's like fitted. But I mean, my pants really tell a story because with the pants, I mean, a 36, I ain't wore a 36 since 11th grade, man. so so the 36, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm wearing a 36, man. I mean, in the underclothes, same thing. Everything is like just a large or extra large. I'm like, this is just unbelievable to be at this point where I have the ability to do these normal things.
Um, Another thing that you talked about in that first video was your improvement in your lipids, your cholesterol, triglycerides, and all that.
Oh
How
yeah,
has that
man.
changed your outlook on health and all that?
So I have actually all my health markers actually turned from all of them weren't red, but the ones that were are now green. Because my cholesterol, for instance, I was probably I want to say like it was the upper twos, and now I'm probably in the 100 low 100s, and so it's probably my cholesterol is better than it was in 10 years, at least. I never was pre-diabetic, but if you were to like, I guess go A1C, I'm probably like a 4.3 or a 4.2. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Hmm.
I'm I'm like nowhere near in the diabetic range. And then my
I wrote
blood pressure.
down I wrote down
Mhm.
your cholesterol dropped from 218 to 145,
Yeah, in the
and
100s. Yep, yep.
and your
That was
triglycerides
in my
dropped
lab.
down to 57. That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
That's in my lab videos. Yeah. So
Yeah.
well, good looking on going back to to those videos because I put it all in there. It's all in there.
Yeah.
It's all in there. But I can't always remember all of it right off the top of my head. But I do know it's just, I mean, them numbers was like amazing. I was like, wow. But yeah, so my blood pressure, like my average would usually be about 145 over 95, and now I'm near like a steady 120 over 80 most of the time. I was able to come off of a diuretic that my foot surgeon, actually thought was causing a little bit of gout, which I never had before because of the diuretic. So she took me off of that. I noticed the bottom number creep up just a little bit, but nothing, really alarming. Since I haven't been taking that, because obviously I've been checking it a lot more regularly since came off the one, because I was on amlodipine and hydrochlorothiazide. And the
Hmm.
hydrochlorothiazide, well, in the GLP-1 community, we call it a dual agonist, but for a blood pressure pill, it doubles as a blood pressure lowering plus a diuretic. So, me coming off of that and just being on the amlodipine, which I just, me and the doctor decided to kind of stay on because I've had that irregular heartbeat and I have room to move around with that. Like if my blood pressure does drop, with me being on 5 milligram, I could go down to like 2.5. So I got space there. So I'm not really. It doesn't bother me, still taking the one med, for safety. You know what I mean? And not to do anything too fast because again, I just have to always remind myself that I mean I've only literally been on this journey for just under 9 months. It hasn't even been a year yet, so I don't want to change too many things, but just change the things that that we feel safe doing.
Definitely. And we kind of talked about this a few weeks ago, but what's your perspective on, in our community, black men, the stigma around seeking care for weight loss and metabolic health?
Um, well, I answered in two ways because obviously, you did ask me about mental health, and I kind of didn't segue off of that. But as far as the mental health, because it's all together. I feel like I did a video on what I felt like was needed to be heard because I feel like a lot of times us as men, and I mentioned it in our panel, um, we sort of kind of like always kind of brush things under the rug when we actually feel emotional about stuff because
Hmm.
we want to be seen as strong all the time. And we have a lot of feelings that we don't talk about um, with our significant others or anybody for that matter. And then sometimes they bubble over in a negative way, right? So I feel like what we should do is learn to be more expressive and be open and honest with our loved ones about how we actually really feel, and stop that old school I'm all right, because that's our favorite
Yeah.
word. But how you doing? I'm all
Yeah.
right. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's the favorite, just short fact, I'm all right. But you're not, you literally are the farthest you could be from all right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it plays into other things, including, the weight, and how it is that we handle it. Some people handle it with drug and alcohol. Some people handle it with food.
Yeah.
So outside of the regular food noise that you might get from suffering with the disease, so that's compounding our problem, right? So I feel like we should, make sure that we have those conversations. I feel like the stigma that surrounds our community is just ignorance and fear, right? It's ignorance, fear. I'll say one more that's not popular. People probably don't agree with it, but it's ignorance, fear, and jealousy, right? And what I mean by that is, and maybe even a little envy. The jealousy and envy come in at the fact that some people just really don't have access to the medication,
Yeah.
right? They probably would take it if they could, but they convince themselves that I don't need it anyway. It's probably going to cause some sort of issue for you, so
Yeah.
I'm good without it. But in fact, they would love to be on it. They would love nothing better than to actually get the results you got. But
Yeah.
instead of saying that, it's all like one big bowl of the same thing. Instead of saying that, you're not willing to express that and say, "Hey, man, do you know how I might be able to get it?" You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
instead of, do you have any ideas, or could you help me out, try to figure out a way where I can afford it? No. Oh man, I don't want none of that mess. No, no, you actually do, because you focus on it quite a bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like it's the ignorance, because people like the influencers that are, like I said, trainers, constantly are fear mongering that, oh, you're going to lose too much muscle. We don't have enough information. When in fact, these medications been out for 20 years. Been
Yeah.
out for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's, oh, we don't have enough information. Oh, it was only diabetics that took it then. Yeah, at the very, very beginning, yes,
Yeah.
it probably was diabetics that took the medication. But what do you think happened 10 years after that? People start using it for weight loss.
Yeah.
Not on a massive scale, but they did.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, no, there's at least a decade of information already out there. Already out there. But they refuse to admit it and are still lying and telling their viewers that there's not enough information and people don't know what's going to happen to you. Well, what has happened to those people that got on it because they had diabetes
Yeah.
for the last 25 years? They're
Exactly.
around here.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah.
Excellent point. Um, have you noticed a difference in how our community views GLP-1s versus how you personally view it? And when I say our
Well,
community, I'm talking about the Black community, of course.
it's changing, man, and it's pretty rapid. It's pretty rapid. I think social media is helping, and just word of mouth. I think word of mouth is the biggest thing. I mean, just like you, man, like how you said, you're like an ambassador, for people around you. I'm sort of the same. I mean, people look at me like that. I mean, I don't say it. I'm not on YouTube telling people that's what's happening, but that's kind of what's happening. Like I said,
Yeah.
my wife started 2 weeks ago. Well, no, I'm down. Look, I'm downplaying her journey. She started a month ago. She just completed her first month. So,
Nice.
you know what I mean? And she lost, 6 pounds her first month. So, and that's on 2.5. And I mean, obviously she's around me. So she's going to be doing all the things, like, you know what I mean? She already know what to do. She cooks like some of my food. So, I think she's going to be, super successful. So I think that then her girlfriends, like there's women that she know that have been taking it, that a lot of them are talking about it because of me, right?
Yeah.
Because she proudly obviously tells everybody about me and things of that nature. So it brings up the conversation. They're like, oh yeah, well I'm on that too. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
they didn't tell her beforehand. You know what I mean? They, oh yeah, well I've been taking it. But y'all
Yeah.
never said nothing before. But now
Yeah.
it's okay. So I feel like these are examples, right, that we seeing unfold right in front of our eyes of what it's like nationally and on a larger level. Is that these things are just not being talked about or discussed, but they're happening. And a lot of it is compound, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I had a really strong stance on compound, at the beginning. Um, I feel a little bit better about compound today than I did when I first started. When I first took my first shot, I wouldn't dare recommend a compound. I wouldn't want nobody near a compound way back in January. But now I feel like the compounds came under so much pressure. As long as you're working with your doctor and you're getting it
Yeah.
from, as trusted source as much as we can say,
Yeah.
right? I think you'll be okay. You know what I mean? Because they actually want to be able to be around. They don't want to give a bad product, because if they give a bad product, then they're short lived, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So if they're able to give a good product, I think they want to be around. So I don't have the strong stance I had against the tirzepatide at first. My wife is on branded too, just like me. But I don't, if it becomes a issue, for accessibility, I'm not against, going with tirzepatide at this point.
Yeah, like you, I was against compound when I first started
Hmm.
as well. And as I got more involved in the community, I started to see the benefits of it, and actually
Yeah,
became an affiliate for telehealth, and used it because I wanted to. I didn't want to be out here pushing it without having the experience of it. And I can tell you, it works. It's good stuff. Um,
yeah, yeah. It has to be available. I mean, we need it because in our community, like you said, our community, people just can't pay $500. They
yeah,
just can't. That's just way too
yeah,
much, man. To get compound at almost $300 is still a lot, but I mean, it still makes a way. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Where it's possible. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But from trusted. I mean, obviously, you could probably get some for a little less. Once, but again, trusted compounds probably still going to run you like at least 250.
yeah,
Close to $300 possibly. So
yeah,
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like in our community, it's an absolute need, because what you want is
yeah,
people to be able to take it. If you encourage people and then you don't have a way for them to get to it,
yeah,
what are we doing?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that can't afford that 250, even though that's half the price of
I
of
know, I
what
know,
they're selling
I know.
Wegovy and Zepbound for cash customers.
Yeah, at
Go
this
back
point
for
with gold, you get some glutide probably for $150 now.
yeah. Um,
So
let's go back for a second, because I find this fascinating. The husband wife duo. I know you got Paul and his wife. You
mhm,
got
mhm,
Chris and Lorraine, and you got
mhm.
you and your wife. How has that dynamic changed since before she started and now that she's on the journey with you?
Um, I want to say, I mean, early on. I mean, I don't know if I'm just raising my table up. Give me 1 second. Early on, I can't say that it did a lot, because she always was supportive, but her actually taking it now is probably going to be a lot something that actually gives her a different experience. Because I told her, I said, see, once you actually inject that pen, some things are going to change, for you. I said because once I inject back in January, I did not know. I had thoughts, but I didn't know exactly what was going to happen once I took the pen. So I didn't respect the journey yet because I
Yeah,
wasn't yet on it. I
yeah,
just knew I was taking a pen, and I felt like, you know, this might be another one of them things where I try and fail. You know what I mean? I don't really have a lot of, it's not a lot of optimism in my mind about it, right? But then when I actually got to February and I was down 15 pounds, I mean that quickly, I was like, oh man, this is for real. You know what I mean? And so I respected the journey, and I said, well, you know what, I'm gonna start tracking, and then with the tracking and all that, I mean, I could say sometime it might have got on her nerves at the like in the midst of it, with me doing some of the like YouTubing and this, that, and the third at moments. But
yeah,
for the most part, like I said, she's been super supportive, and obviously with her getting on it, that tells you something, right? That means
yeah,
that what she's witnessed me do made an impact on her. So it might not like start out, absolutely, amazing, but once they actually learn, and again, I have to give them patience because she wasn't on the GLP-1. I
yeah,
was, right? So she didn't know. But now, what her experiencing is kind of, funny. I get to see her go through some of the, some of the things like the basic side effects. And,
yeah,
the
yeah,
good thing I will say for her versus like her girlfriends, because she talked to the girlfriends about it. Like one lady, she was on Wegovy, and she was saying how she got off of it just after like 3 months because she had such constipation that it scared her, right? And now, mind you, know how we have regiments and all of that.
Yeah.
She didn't. The girl didn't have none of that. So my wife was like, "Well, the lucky thing is I got you, so I won't experience that because you know what I need to do." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? That's a real thing. You know what I mean? And I really wish her girlfriend would have at that time had someone to support her and could have told her, the right things, and then she probably would have been able to like stay on it a bit longer too. So
Yeah.
it's
And that's
important,
that's
man. It's really
that's
important.
one side effect you gotta stay ahead of. You gotta stay ahead of that one.
Yeah.
You'd be backed up for days.
I'm telling you, man. Listen, since we here right now, I'll tell you. This month, this is my first month on the 10. It got real, man. It got real. And I'm really like figuring out that right now because
Yeah.
irregularity has been my biggest issue. Like even like right now today, I'm still working through, you know what I mean? Like I'm because 7.5 didn't do that to me. Like, you know what I mean? I was able to just like do a little bit of Mago 7, get Mago 7, do some Marilac, boom, I'm back. But now on this 10, it's different, man. It's really
Yeah.
different. And I'm just really working through that irregularity, man. It really is it's a thing, man. It's a thing. It's
Yeah,
a thing.
definitely. All right,
It's a
back
thing.
to
I'm
our
trying to.
community. Back to our
Yep.
community, black men. What role
Hmm.
do you think representation plays in encouraging others like us to get on this journey?
What? Well, say it again.
Representation, seeing someone like us on this journey and encouraging them. What role do you think representation plays? Because when I started, I often say when I started,
Mhm.
I came to YouTube trying to find somebody to look like me. There was nobody. It was a ghost
Nobody.
town.
Nobody.
Yeah,
Nobody. Yeah, super important, man. I mean, more important. I mean, probably the most important. Which is why I actually was willing to do the downsized interview, because I know that with such a large audience, there's people watching, and all of these interviews. In fact, I mean, not just
yeah,
them, but I'm just saying like to
yeah,
do actual interviews other than on my own channel. You know what I mean? Get on people's channels that have a larger audience because I feel like there's a lot of like guys watching in the shadows, man, and some of them actually probably need help on their journey, don't know stuff. And just like my wife's girlfriend, where she was saying, if she had some support early on, she wouldn't have stopped. You know what I mean? Because we could explain things. And I feel like now with guys seeing me, they'll think it's okay. You know what I mean? It's cool to do. You know what I mean? It's not a bad thing. And to see results, right? That's why I post so much. Like I show before and after. I show what I'm eating. I show my numbers. I show all of these things because people want people that they can trust, right? And so the only way I can gain that trust is through in living color and being consistent, right? I keep showing up, I keep being consistent, and people get to see my journey. Because like I know, there's some funny business going on
yeah,
around here. You know what I mean? It
yeah.
really is. I be seeing these weights, and I'm like, man, you done lost 70 pounds in 10 weeks, 12. I'm doing it. I'm like, nah, that don't. That's kind of crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy in these streets, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
All right, so you're
So
you're ahead of schedule on your loss, so you're approaching maintenance
push it
pretty
90
soon.
pounds. Yeah.
I think you're 235. Your goal is 200. I think
Yep.
it is. You don't want to
That's my
creep over
ultimate
to
goal.
you
My
don't want to
first
creep
goal,
over to Wonderland so you can hang out with me and Paul.
so my first goal initially when I first started this was to lose 100 pounds, right? Because the idea that I had was to get out of obesity. That was my main driving thing. It wasn't necessarily about a number. It was about like what would put me out of obesity. If I go to the physician or I go to the ER they're not going to actually have on my chart this blaring, oh, he has obesity. That's why he's here. You know what I mean? That's his
Yeah,
problem. You know what I mean? How do I get to just overweight, right? That would mean that I have to lose 100 pounds. So that was
yeah,
my first goal. But remember, that was when I was ignorant to the journey. I didn't know, like the details that I know now. So having the details I have now, I know that maintenance, right? Thanks to you and other guys that are doing maintenance prior to me. To me, I don't think maintenance would be too hard for me because I feel like I know what I need to do. Now, the
yeah,
act of it of maintaining may be difficult, but for me, knowing what I probably should do won't be, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Um, so I know that I need to have a range that I'm willing to be in because none of us are going to wake up the same weight. We're going to have family issues. We're going to have health issues. We're going to have things that actually cause our weight to go up and down. So as a larger male, I think that we could probably need 10 to 15 pounds, to give ourselves room for things to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that my ultimate goal is 200 pounds, because if I'm 200 pounds, I could gain 20 pounds for some random reason, and I still wouldn't touch obesity. You see what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that is kind of like why I had that number of 200. But at that point, I mean, as a 6 foot tall guy, I'm probably right around 27, which for my BMI, because I
Yeah.
mean, I believe in BMI very loosely. I don't believe in it
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. I just believe in loosely. It's just
Yeah.
it's just like as a tool to gauge, right?
Yeah,
So
it
with
should be
that being
one it should be one thing. Unfortunately, it's what the insurance companies use to approve us, but it should just be one thing out of a whole host of things that we're looking at for our overall health.
correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know one of the prominent doctors said that if you get to around a 27, that really dramatically, based on calculations and numbers and things that he's seen through studies, it dramatically decreases comorbidities and the instances of cancer, and the percentages drop,
Yeah.
well down once you get to a BMI of around 27. So
Yeah.
that's where that would kind of put me. You know what I mean? So I also utilize things like that to make sense for me.
Awesome. Well, Geez, I appreciate you joining me. Geez1of1, you can, if you haven't followed him already, you can follow his channel down in the comments. If you haven't hit that like button, please go ahead and do so. If you got time for some Q&A,
Some
Geez?
questions? Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Absolutely.
Let's see. Darium's
Well, I can't see.
asking,
I got
how
a blur
has
on my end.
releasing the weight contributed to your being prepared for the upcoming surgery?
Um, I mean, the surgery I was prepared for either way. I mean, even if I was still heavier, because I knew I had to get it at some point. But obviously, I think that it will make my recovery a bit easier, because I'll be non-weight bearing on one of my legs for about 2 weeks. Even though it's about a 10-week recovery. So.
Let's see. Looking for any questions in the chat. That was the only question. You guys don't got no questions out there?
Yeah,
Shit.
they're quiet, but maybe it's late. Maybe they're on the East Coast and it's too late for them. It's 10
Yeah.
o'clock over here, so
They just
so maybe
listening.
maybe maybe they over here just ear hustling. It happens like that on my channel
Yeah.
too. They all jump in and look at the streams later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but before we get off of here, man, I definitely want to give you your flowers, man, because you definitely, you know what I mean, spawn some things, like, because when I first jumped on YouTube, you were one of the first people that I saw, as a black male. I mean, I saw the same people I saw on Dave over there. I saw, Chris and his wife, and believe it or not, Tamika is one of the first people I saw too, because she was on there doing those workouts and stuff. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I saw her, so some of the influencers I do, try to make sure that they know, like, to keep doing what they're doing, because you're definitely inspiring people that's not, that you might not, ever hear from. You know what I mean? You'll never know them, but you're definitely changing their lives. So you was one of the first dudes that like I said, I watched, and just seeing, your journey, and watching, how you was able to, like, go from the situation you were in to where you are today. It's definitely, it's inspiring people, man. That's why I'm trying to share my journey. So I hope that I can inspire people, behind me.
I appreciate that, man. Y'all always make me uncomfortable, showering me with all this praise and stuff.
Hey,
Eh,
man,
I
it's
like,
well deserved, man. Keeps you
yeah,
going. Keeps you
appreciate that.
going.
So
Let you know
we got
you're
some
important.
questions coming in now.
Okay.
Jen has asked, do you plan on coming off the medication when hitting goal?
Never. Never. I don't see, I mean, if I'm not on this treatment, I'll probably be on another. And the reason why is because I'm not on this just for weight loss. I'm on it because of what it's done for my cholesterol, what it's done for what I feel like is my overall metabolic health, which is actually, helping, kidneys, heart, everything. That's where I'm not short-sighted. Some people I feel like are very short-sighted with what the medication is doing, and just thinking about weight loss. But this thing has actually changed my actual overall health, and I don't plan on becoming unhealthy, so I don't see myself coming off.
Good answer. All right, Val is asking, what dose are you on now, and what dose did you lose the most with?
I'm on a 10 milligram now. I lost the most with 7.5 simply because I was on it the longest. I was on that for probably at least 4 months. I started at 2.5, did that for a month. I did five for a month, and then I went right to 7.5 in my third month. And I was on that for, I want to say, probably at least 3 months, and then I titrated up to the 10, realized that it was a bit much, came back down and did 2 more months. So probably 5 months of my journey, I was on 7.5. So, and now, like I said again, I am on the 10. I don't plan on titrating up any farther. I'm not sure I need to, because at the rate of weight that I'm able to lose, with the timing, obviously I'm just almost 9 months in. 9 months from now, I guess we'll see what I'm saying, but 9 months from now, I plan to have hopefully lost the 35 pounds that I have left to lose, with the 10 milligram that I'm utilizing now.
All right. Lynn is asking, how are your family and friends reacting to your weight loss?
So it's like a mixed bag. Mostly everybody just says, you look well, you look good. Some ask, hey, what you doing, stuff like that. But sometimes you got the people that are closest to you that are, really close. Not in my household, but close people that don't know necessarily how to take you as you are. Because they'll say things like, you lost enough weight now, right? You're done now, right? You don't need to lose no more, right? You about finished now, right? Because you look good, you finished. And I'm like, well, no, not quite yet. I got a little more to go. I said, but I didn't hear any of that when I was larger. As I was
Yeah,
growing, you didn't say that same sentiment. I got all the way to 320 pounds, and I didn't hear a peep from you. So I don't understand what the difference is. By no means do I have Ozempic face, and I don't have any turtlenecking, and ain't no loose skin nowhere. So I don't see the reason for your concern.
exactly. I've been getting that a lot. I actually went to go see my dad last week, and he told me I'm getting too skinny.
Well, you see what I mean? Like that's what I
Yeah,
mean. I'm not going to name names of who said it. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I'm just saying, very close people that's used to you being a certain thing, and they, because I don't like to hurt people's feelings if they ever watch this back. But I'm just
yeah,
saying they probably should. They probably should just congratulate you, and that's it. Because you're not going into an unhealthy range. I don't have to deal with like crazy muscle loss where you're seeing something drastic. So just congratulate and move on.
I agree with that. PH.
Yeah, for some reason I don't know why it's like those comments is like real. I can't
I'll
really
have to
see. They
change.
kind of
I'll have to change the setting.
yeah, they're blurry for me.
All right. Any other questions out there?
Because I know somebody in one of my chats asked me, one of the lives I did. She was asking me about loose skin. I think it was Michelle. Michelle's one of the, and I was telling her like I don't really. I mean, my legs are really small. I don't have anything there. My arms are pretty solid. I said the only place I got anything really that's around the midsection. And I'm
Yeah,
trying to, obviously I'm working on that with the weightlifting and things of that nature, but it's not nothing no one else will notice. Like, unless I'm wearing like a muscle shirt, and I don't plan on wearing no muscle shirt. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not in it to do no kind of competition. So I don't see, you know what I mean? Because even like in looking at my scale, like my visceral fat, when I started, I was probably like 37. I mean, that's like 22 now. Overall fat started at like 39. That's a 30 now. My lean muscle, I didn't lose anything drastic. I probably started at 180. It's at like 155. So things have been pretty minimal, for me to be down almost 90 pounds with just like 30, 40 pounds to go.
yeah,
So I don't see me drastically, doing anything more, you know what I mean? That would
yeah.
cause me to, be concerned.
Definitely. All right. If there are no other questions, I guess we'll wrap it up for the night. Again, please hit that like button, hit that follow if you're not already doing so, and also head over and follow my guy Geez1of1. You can find his channel in the description of this live.
Absolutely.
Next week we're back at it, same time on 10/7. I have my man John Henri will be joining us
Nice.
next week. And
Nice,
he's
nice.
actually going to one of his things is loose skin. That's what he's been talking about a lot lately. So I want to talk to him about what he's doing to address his loose skin and all of that. So please check in next week with us and spread the word.
Yes, come on over to G's 101. One of one. I actually, usually go live on Sundays. So Sundays between 6 and 7, you could pretty much catch me going live. Generally after the Eagles win.
What if they lose? You're not gonna go live?
No, I'm gonna still go live
All
because
right.
we'll win enough to take a few losses.
Okay.
I might wear my hat next week. I don't know. All
All right, y'all. Everyone have a good night. We'll talk to you
right,
later.
later.